So let's get on with writing something in a web page. Actually, I'm going to explain a little bit more about a web page before we start looking at things. First of all, I've said that we've got elements. This is the start tag, this is the end tag. Elements can also contain attributes, and we can include things called styles in them. And I'm going to do just that now. I'm going to say that this body has a style. Now these are called CSS, cascading style sheets. Normally we don't place them in the element. There's three places we can do them. We can actually place them in the element. We can have them separated in the head somewhere, or we can have a separate file. And usually we have them as separate files, but that's going to be a little bit down the line. So I'm going to begin by just having my CSS as attributes, in other words, something else inside the tag. So I'm going to say that my style has a border around it. Now we need to do style equals and then the quote marks, and then whatever style I'm using needs to go inside here. So we say what I want to do, which is the border. I want to put a line around the body of the document. Border, and I'm going to say it's just 1 pixel and it's going to be a solid black line. So I've now attached some style to my web page, and really that's what we will be doing. We'll be writing things on a web page just in plain text and then doing lots of styling to make it look different. But I've done this for a purpose because I want to show you one or two little bits and features of a web page. So I'm going to save that and I'm going to refresh my browser, and as you can see it's put a black line all around the body, the start and the end body of the web page. And notice it's only as long as this. You know, it doesn't go right the way down to the bottom. As we add things to it, then this will stretch and grow down. So it starts on the left and it works its way to the right. Now the strange thing is, if I put a new line here and type this is a new line, save that, it's going to appear differently in my browser. So if I refresh my page, it's not going to give me a second line. It's going to keep writing all on one line, and that's what it does. It keeps stretching from the left to the right. And if I make my browser larger, it's going to make this wider. There you go. So it's now the full width of the browser. So you can imagine on a really big screen, this is going to keep going and going and going. It does not go down. And that is one of the things that we need to learn how to do. But before I go there, what I want to show you is, and you've probably used this before, is the inspect element. And really this is really useful, particularly when we're programming, to try and find out what's going on in our web page. And it's this item here that I want to point out. Notice that now my web page is even smaller, and this is now saying this is a new line. Actually, if I now put a third line in, this is the third line, what will happen once it reaches the edge here, it will then go down another line. So if I save that, refresh my page, and go, this is the third line. It's reached the end and it goes down. So let's take a look at what we've got here. This is our, for every element, it's giving me some information. And it's pretty much the same information for each one. Each one has a margin, and we can see here that between the edge of the page and the line there is a gap at the top, to the right, to the left and the bottom, and that is called a margin. Oh no, I seem to have spelled third with too many R's. And at the moment it's saying that my margin is just a dash. There's no margin at all. And I can actually set my margin to be 10 pixels or 10 pixels. I can say margin 10 pixels in style. And normally we separate our styles, and really we should end a style with a semicolon. If I save that and refresh the page, it just jumped a little bit. Okay, but if I click on my element, it should tell me what my margin is. Really what I need is to have a look at the actual web page. And let's zoom up a bit. There we go, I've got my web page. I'm not seeing what I want to see. Click on the element. There we go. So let's take you through this. This is my web page. As you can see, it's all the area in blue, and it's telling me the screen width, which at the moment is 725 pixels wide and 40 pixels down. Now if I go to the head, it's not highlighted, but if I open up this little arrow here, it tells me all the items. So if I go over there, home page, charset, viewport, end of the head, now I'm getting to the body. Now if I click on the body of the page, you can see that that is in blue. Okay, there's the body of the page, and you can see the margin. Now it's difficult, so I'm going to move my mouse here. If you take a look at that diagram, the margin is no longer just a dash. It is 10 for the 10 pixels that I set in my program. And then you can see the next part in is called the border. Here, the border, that is 1 pixel wide. Well, we set it to be 1 pixel, and we set it to be a solid line. And then we've got something called padding. Now, padding means the distance from the border to the actual wording, and at the moment there is no padding. It's like a little margin. So if I actually add padding to my padding and make that 5 pixels, save and refresh my page, you'll see that now there is some distance between the black line here and the border, and down here it's saying that my padding is now 5, and if I hover over it, it's going green, showing you where the padding is. If I go over there, the yellow, you can barely see the yellow, so let's make the border a bit thicker so that we can see that. So border, I don't know, let's make that 5 pixels as well. Okay, and refresh the page. We always need to refresh it. Notice that now we've got a very thick border, but if I take my mouse over the border in here, it shows me where the border is, and it's black with the yellow on top. We can just about see it. So the padding is the green part, which is inside. So it's 5 pixels inside each border, which is making the text go in. And then I've got a margin which is outside the box to the start of the page, and then in the center I've got the blue part, which is my actual page, and that's highlighted. So for every element we can have a look at this item here and see how the padding and the border and the margins work. Again, if I go back and take all of that style out, just have the body. So delete all the style, just have the body, no attributes, save that, refresh my page. We can see that there is a default margin of 8, so the text does not go right up to the edge of the screen or the top. As a default, it's always 8. There is no border, so that's given with a dash. There is no padding to the words, given a dash, and then the web page is in blue. So that is a quick look. We will use this inspect and inspect the elements a lot. I could put my code right here, but it would only change it on the page. So if I just go to there and take the R out, it would change how it looks on the page. So now I've got a third line instead of third, but it will not change it in my file. Okay, so although you can change things on a web page using this inspector, it only works on the web page you've got in. The minute that you refresh the page, it goes back to the old version, and then we've got a third back. So that is a quick look at the inspector. We will use that quite a lot. And I've also introduced margins, border and padding. Those three words are going to be very important for us to actually lay out our web page.